Really difficult at this moment in time. It's a bit raw. You know, we've had a backside slap there. Didn't do ourselves any favours with the amount of possession we had, and you know we just evaluated it down there as a group, and we've given Leigh twice as much ball as us, and you can't do that against a team of that quality. And when I say of that quality, I'm going to go as far to say that's the best championship team I've ever seen. I think they've got quality absolutely everywhere. Even losing 2 players to injury, they just find another quality player. And then when you look at the sideline and the people that are playing, it's going to be a good team that beats them.
You just mentioned a little bit about self-inflicted performance mark. Is that like, I think it was Elliot Keir who gave dissent whilst Bradford had the ball, giving Leigh a penalty which they then scored off. Is that an example?
Yeah, that's unacceptable. And Elliot knows that. You know, he's not a daft lad, and he's not a bad person either. I don't think we could question effort from most individuals, if not all. I just think the sheer weight of possession they had, the sheer weight of good ball they had, meant we were forever on the back foot. You know, when you look at the detail of their execution and how they play, you can tell that these blokes, you know, are full time and train all day every day together. And you know, fair play to their owner and fair play to the club that, you know, they've put that squad together and they're in that bracket, and you know they're right at the top of the championship for everybody else to try and pick off.
Last week you praised the defence against Dewsbury, Mark. What's your thoughts on the defence this afternoon? Certainly in that first period where I think Leigh scored 3 tries on the last tackle, and they all looked to me a carbon copy straight out of dummy half underneath the post.
Yeah, that's the most disappointing part this afternoon for me. They've come through our middle, or come through our goal line, should I say, 5 times, and you know that's been a real feature of improvement, I feel. You know, over the last few weeks, and today we let ourselves down on line. We didn't have the desperation and the urgency. But again, when they carry the ball like they do, and the skittle players, it becomes really, really quick, and you know you've got to be very, very good technically and tactically. I thought we were in spells, but then you know, like I say, 4 or 5 times they've come through us on our own goal line, and yeah, it's hard to take.
Chester Butler withdrew in the warm-up. How much has that affected things? Obviously, I know you could have put Reece Evans in there. I think in the end you went with Joe Burton, who did the 80 minutes on Thursday at the reserve game.
No, we didn't know. He did 50 minutes.
He did 50.
Yeah, he did 50 on Thursday. Yeah. With that in mind as well, you know, about this evening, it was Reece that did the 80. Did we miss Chester Butler? Yes. You know, Chester brings a lot to the group, but you know, I've got to praise Sammy Kabul. I thought his effort and some of his skill was very, very good. So, you know, Sammy's had a real dig for us there, and yeah, he's probably gone somewhere near his best performance for this club out there today. But yeah, you know, when you lose a player of Chester Butler's quality, it's always going to affect you.
Deck Pan went off towards the end. What's the latest on him?
Deck's been struggling all week. He's actually not trained all week, which is why we did what we did with Joe Burton. It was always in our minds that Deck might not make it. He had a fitness test yesterday at Team Run, and he's put his hand up. A fair play to him. You know, he's played through the pain barrier there, and when the game was finally gone, I made the decision to look after him with next week and the week after in mind.
Games like today, Mark, against Leigh, are never going to define Bradford's season in terms of if they're in the playoffs or not, but what does a defeat like this in the manner do for like yourself and the morale in the players?
No, it's not going to define a season, it's not, but you know, this club should not be losing like that. You know, it's a sign of the opposition and where we're at compared to them. Absolutely, you know, 100% agree with that. But what I've just said to the players down there is they've got to stick together. You know, they've got to remain as tight as they have been over the last 7-8 weeks, or whatever it is, and really stick together. And you know, nobody's this season's over after today. But if we want it to go where we want to go, then games like this and games like the one away at Featherstone have got to be better.
Dan Fleming didn't feature. What's up with Dan?
Dan's been out for a long time, and did the 80 minutes and was particularly sore afterwards. And, Dan will be in and around the 17 next week.
Aaron Murphy obviously returned. I think his first game since that league win over London. He's done the 80 minutes, and obviously that box is now ticked.
Yeah, and in an ideal world he would have played reserve grade first, but there was a necessity there with Matt Dawson-Jones missing out through injury. So through circumstance, Aaron's come back in today, and I thought he's gone well today. He's tried his hardest.
On yourself, Mark, has the position changed since we last spoke on Thursday evening?
No.
You've not heard anything if there's going to be an announcement ahead of the Newcastle game?
No.
So I take it as gospel you'll be preparing the players for Friday night at Newcastle?
I don't know, Mick. I really don't know. If I had a pound for every time somebody's asked me this question over the last couple of weeks, I don't think I'd need to work. But the honest answer is I don't know.
I was going to say, obviously with that situation you not knowing, is that a little bit of uncertainty perhaps creeping into the squad? Is there a danger of that?
There's a danger of it. I don't think it has done yet. What's now creeping in is there's players hearing whispers and rumours about who's potentially in for the job and who's been offered the job and who might have been offered the job, and it's all hearsay because this is I would go as far as to say this is the best kept secret in rugby league about who's in it. And again, if I get a pound for every time somebody in the game had told me that, I won't need to work. But yeah, it's not happened yet. It's not created a distraction yet. But yeah, with anything where there's uncertainty, then people start to create rumours rather than let the process unfold. And I think that started away from the playing group and away from the club, and it's them rumours start to creep in, and I've done my best to pour water on some of them, and I've done my best to answer whatever questions the players have got. But when I haven't got the information to be able to, it can be difficult.
So obviously when Jason came out and sort of said a decision is imminent, was his words, it does sort of, people are expecting, all right, we're going to know today, or we're going to know tomorrow, or we're going to know the next day. But when it doesn't happen, it's, as you say, there is that, trying to keep that lid on it. It's presumably the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is to sort of, as you say, pour water on things and keep things ticking over as normal.
Yeah, and I wasn't aware that Jason had said there was an imminent announcement coming, so I try my best not to read rumours and read press and things like that. I just try my best to go about my daily job and keep them blokes upbeat and tick it over. And we've managed to do this so far. If this is my last game, so be it. But the staff and the players have been nothing short of outstanding for me.
You say about this result, Mick said it doesn't define the season. I mean, presumably also you want to be careful that it doesn't sort of undo the good work of recent performances, isn't it? Because everyone's going to most people get their backside slapped by Leigh, and you don't want it to have a sort of damaging effect going into Newcastle. Bear in mind how well you've been doing up to today.
I think I'm right in saying that nobody in Leigh's last 7 games have scored more than 6 points against them. There's been a few nil-ins and a few heavier concessions than we've had to do. Does that make it right for Bradford Bulls to become, coming on the back end of a result like that? No, it doesn't. But I think it tells everybody where Leigh Centurions are at, and I take my cap off to them. And sometimes you've got to, in life you've got to say, look, they're by far the best team in this league. But this club has got to, it's got to have the ambition to compete with people like that, and it's got to have a genuine roadmap of how that's going to happen. And once the club make the decision on who's coming in or who's getting the job, then if it's not me, I hope and pray that this club can soon be challenging teams like that, because I'll always be Bradfordian.
I think that's what a lot of supporters, however many years it's been, still find that difficult to accept, the fact that they're getting beat by a team because they're a full-time team and they just look bigger and stronger. And I think it's that, as you say, accepting that. It's very difficult, isn't it?
I don't think we should ever accept it. I think we should be realistic. You know, this club's not in the place it was 20 years ago. I think Leigh looked like a Bradford team of old. You know, when you look at the size and the strength and the power they've got throughout the team, if you look back to the glory days of this club, they look like a Bradford team of old. I think the spectators have got every right to want this club to be back there, and you know, believe you me, everybody involved in this club, whether it's staff, coaches, players, all want to be back there. You know, it's going to take time, and the owners have come in and stabilised, you know, what was a rocky boat, so to speak. But yeah, the next step now is to move on and to get back to challenging people like Leigh Centurions and Featherstone Rovers.
Mark, if you are given the job, how much of a rebuild is there here at Oxford to get to, you know, potentially challenging at the top?
I think you need to define what rebuild means, Mick. It's, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of what the job looks like as yet. You know, I've had a good chat with Jason and Nigel, and they're being very, very honest. You know, to challenge a Featherstone and a Leigh takes an awful lot of money. You know, but yeah, there's some improvements to be made. I think we've made lots of improvements. I think there's lots to make. But yeah, there's some players downstairs that are out of contract and have got wives and children, and need some clarity on where they're going and where the club's going as well. So, you know, once you start doing that and you start your retention and recruitment and start putting things in place, then you can start to look at how we build, or how the successful person that's coming in builds this club slowly, sustainably, but we've got to be going in the right direction every time.
Yeah, only question, you might have mentioned it right at the beginning. What was the nature of Chester Butler's problem that made him pull out at the last?
Yeah, his Chester's been struggling all week, but we thought it was okay. He's got a glute problem, which is sending shooting pains, you know, down the back of his legs. So we don't know if it's related to anything other than just having a tight glute and a tight backside. But you know, the physio's worked on him this morning. He's been here since 12 o'clock. You know, and they got him to a position where all his muscles had freed up, and it was not pain-free, but it was manageable. And then, you know, right at the back end of the warm-up there, he got the same shooting pain again. And we just couldn't risk Chester being out there for a couple of minutes and then having to come off and be done.
So that was as far as the warm-up you got with
Yeah.
your spring jump,